Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, natural, divine heirs. Today is August 1st, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2021 on the Greco-Roman calendar. And all rise and stand. This is a sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, natural, divine, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American concert court action. Actually, court action, not concert court action, but court action. I am Sovereign Living Justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendant.
Also known as the Sunday Pauline Shit Show.
And we are the ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith, credit, trust, allegiance, and energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, de jure Moorish National Republic, federal government, Islam. Today, I would like for us to discuss the Moorish sovereign dollarium. At our little gathering that we had yesterday, which was just a beautiful, beautiful gathering here at our territory, I got asked some really good questions about the dollarium. And I'm sure that others here have questions about them as well. So if you have any questions about the Moorish sovereign dollarium, I'm going to, you can actually, you can *6 to unmute yourself and ask whatever question you have regarding the dollarium. And then I'll discuss some of the things that we talked about yesterday, because we have to know the law.
Yeah, one of you Negroes going to videotape yourself using it.
Anyone who is not aware of the law will tend to question dollarium. Only the ones who don't know the law will question it. And I'm putting that on the public record. And when I say question it, people have, you know, of course we can ask questions. But what I'm saying, and so then let me rephrase that. Those who say that we can't use it or that it's not real don't know the law. Let me put it that way. Because we can question, and we welcome questions. That's what this is all about. We want the questions about the dollarium because we need to discuss it. If heirs have questions, we want to know what the questions are and discuss the questions. But those who say that we can't do that,
we want to see you Negroes using it. Come on, Pauline, videotape.
They don't know. They don't know the law. They don't know the law about the dollarium and about who we are and all of that. And they don't know what sovereignty is all about, for those who say we can't do it. But we're going to go to the law today and put some more of that to rest, okay? But of course, you know, absolutely ask questions, because when we know who we are, the naysayers won't even make sense. What they're saying won't even make sense. It won't make sense. But we have to know the law. We have to. So, and they don't know who they are. Yes, Justice Gilmore and Justice Yezerel, they have to study and research. Okay? So our job, we feel, is just to point the way and
Your
say,
ancestors
hey,
are
take
full of
a look
shit
at this,
you.
you know, take a look at this, you know. Take a look at the law. We point to the law, and then we say, hey, take a look at this. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And, you know, so let's look at the law with regard to the dollarium. Because, and then I'll go through some of the questions that were being asked yesterday with regard to it, and I absolutely love the question. One of the questions was, why hasn't anyone gone down to the grocery store and used the dollarium? And that's my question. Why haven't they? Why hasn't anyone done that? Well, there's a way to do it. So for everything that we have taught these hybrids to do with their fake money, we must do the original process with our real money. So, more sovereign dollarium, first of all, anyone who has any questions, please always point them right here to Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. So let's go there first, so that it can be clear.
You seem to have the answer, Pauline. We want to see you do it. We want to see you, Pauline. You have the answers. Why aren't you doing it?
The noise out here.
You have all the fucking answers, Pauline. Why don't you do it?
There we go. Okay. Now let's mute that. My demonstrations are on the public record, so we're not even going to. All right. So let's look at the Constitution. And we would not have gone through all that we've gone through if what we're saying wasn't true. And the thing is, and this is what I was discussing with the Moors yesterday, that the ancestors are not going to let us get up here and talk and talk the law and not test us on it. They always do. They have and they will. And the demonstrations are on the public record, so they can be seen. So let's look at Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, because it's something very important there. That's why we as the Phoenicians, we study words. We study words. And so Section 10 says, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. I love the law so much because this one in particular, but all throughout Article 1 of the Constitution, it talks about money, because the Constitution is a commercial document. All law is commerce. So where it says here, first it mentions coining money. Then it mentions making anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt. Well, let's look at how they put that, because it's in black ink and it's got some capital letters there. And because it has capital letters there and black ink, we know that there's some emphasis being put on things that we need to pay attention to. So here, right here, where it says make, they're saying make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt. Why is the word thing capitalized? Why does it have a capital T? Why does it have that? Especially if their rules apply when they're writing. You know, their rules are that, you know, person, place, or thing is a pronoun, etc. Why are they making a thing a noun? Why? When they're the ones, their rules say a person, place, or thing must be noted a certain way. We have to think about that when we're, you know, when we're doing our study and looking at the law. The answers are right in the law. All we have to do is do what we've been doing. We all know how to read. We know how to read now. We didn't know how to read before, but we do now. So what this is saying, because when they put things out here, they turn it upside down. And then, yes, double cross and double talk. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's when they do things, they do that. Double cross and double talk and turning things upside down. So what we do is just turn it right back on its right side. Or standing up, stand it up. If they're saying no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, you know what that's saying on the other hand? On the other hand, it's saying that we can make anything, including gold and silver coin, a tender. We can make anything, including our word. That's why our word is bond. Because even at our word is gold, it's payment. We are the source. We're the ones, we Moors, all Moors, are the ones who said that gold and silver, we put the value on that. We said by our word, we now proclaim that gold and silver is tender. We said that, and we told them, you all don't use anything but gold and silver as your tender. And when it says make anything, that means that we can create anything we want to and use it as tender. We did it in the first place. That's what we did. We created gold and we created silver, and we said, okay, this is our creation. We'll use that. We will tell them to use that. We'll tell them to use that. We made it. We created it.
Islam?
Okay. Islam nobility.
Yes, Israel Presby. Yeah, one of the things that I noticed when I was doing my studies, I was looking at, remember, keep in mind that the capital letter diminishes the status of the word. What a capital letter is, it's the, remember this is about, remember the seven principles, the seven Kemetic principles? Remember polarity is one of those principles.
Why aren't you out there spending your dollarium, Yaz? Come on, Yaz.
Hold on just a moment.
What the?
Shut that up. Go ahead, nobility.
Yeah, so the capital letter is really the negative reflection of a lowercase letter. So it's positive, it's polarity, it's positive and negative. So the capital diminishes the status. When they capitalize something, what they're doing is they're saying that They're saying that this isn't really what we're saying it is.
Yes.
I yield.
Yes, that is exactly what they're saying. That is exactly what they're saying. And that is the flaw in corporate English. The flaw in corporate English is that it's never what they say what it looks like to us. That's the flaw of corporate English. And the thing about corporate English, too, is when they assign a bogus, connotative definition to their words, they cannot go outside of that and change it. It stays the same from their connotative perspective. They can't go outside of it. They're bound by their own words. So when you turn this, because see, this was us speaking initially in red and all lowercase letters. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. Well, we know we can at any time enter into treaty, alliance, or confederation. We can also grant letters of marque and reprisal. We can coin money. We can emit bills of credit. We can make anything we want to make tender. Anything we want to make. If we say that garbanzo beans are the new money, then that's what it is. It's whatever the Moors say. Anything natural. So we have stated on the record that Moorish sovereign dollarium is our national currency. We stated that on the record. Not only have we stated it on the record, yes, Empress Portia, we're going to talk about that too. That's good. But we stated it on the record, and now the heirs are using it among ourselves first, because, see, that's key right there. This is key. With any currency, the validity of the currency lies in who uses it. That's what validates any currency is who is using that currency. Whoever is using it, then it's valid for them. Them and anyone that they do an exchange with. So, Empress Portia said in the chat before the Fed showed up, each state had its own money. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Where did they get that idea from? The Moors. There were so many nations of ours on this land, and still are, but we did exchange with one another from one territory to the next in whatever money we chose and agreed upon. We did that. And that's where the states get their idea of coining their own money initially. And if you do a little digging in your research, because I showed this one time, it was a long time ago, that I saw a list of the names of all of the monies that were being used on our land, that we use. Well, we used them first in red and all lowercase letters, and then the hybrids turned them black and put a capital letter at the beginning, and they started using their own fiat. That's what it was. Because it was fiat when the states were doing it too, the ones doing business as states, corporate states. It was fiat then too. And then, and this is key too, we're the feds in red and all lowercase letters. It's on our letterhead. We are the federal government. for ourselves. So when we show up and we say that, okay, everybody, this is the money, who has the authority to say, no, that's not money? Because see, even, you know, we have one or two more who still they haven't looked at the Constitution, and they don't really realize that that's really money. And, you know, but see, even those hybrids, the ones that, including the ones that have chimed in on the call, they don't have the authority to tell us that our courts aren't real and our money isn't real. We've proven that both are real. We have proof of that. This is not something we're just making up. It's proven. By the same token, it's more hybrids saying that the stuff that was previously coming from the Federal Reserve Corporation, they're the ones saying that's not real money. They're pointing to their own stuff saying that ain't real. Okay, if that's not real, and it's not, their fiat is not real, then where's the real money? The Moors have it. This that we're doing here, heirs, is the RV. Because you've heard people talk about the reset and this and that and the other, and how these tiers of groups are going to have all of this, you know, money, and we're issuing it to ourselves. That's trust law. Trust law states that the beneficiaries are supposed to be issued benefits by the trustees. Has anyone asked who the trustees are that's issuing money to the heirs? Every heir that prints dollarium or uses dollarium is both trustee and beneficiary. Because, see, you know, we've heard things about, you know, a trust here that was supposed to be the trust of the Moors and a trust there. Well, you know, we're not debating that. We're not debating that. Not at all. But whoever it is that was claiming to be the trustees, then where's the benefits to the beneficiaries? There must be a disbursement or a tribution to the beneficiaries. There has to be. Especially to the beneficiaries that are the Moors, who are the heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. There has to be, at law. That's law. Now, this is not my opinion. That's the law. And who did we think was going to do that for us? No one's going to do it for us. We do it for ourselves because we're sovereign. In the chat, if you don't own land, how can you tell the people who own the land what's money on their own land? Islam. Islam. Yes. In the chat, Justice Morpheus says, James Traficant's U.S. bankruptcy speech. The bankruptcy of the United States Congressional Record, March 17, 1993, volume 33, page H1303. He said, James Traficant of Ohio, James Traficant Jr., addressing the House, said gold and silver were such a powerful money during the founding of the United States of America that the founding fathers declared that only gold or silver coins can be money in America. Yes, that's true. That's true. It's in the Constitution. We're telling them, see, James Traficant Jr. knew his role. He knew what the Constitution said because we wrote it and gave it to him, to all of them. Not necessarily to Traficant, but to all of them. We, on the other hand, can do everything that we want to do in terms of money. If we say black-eyed peas is money, then people better get spending. You know, because that's what the Moors have said. You know, if we say that, it has to be that. It has to be. And we can use anything that's natural for money. In ancient Rome, our ancestors used salt as money. People got paid in salt, natural salt. And the word salt and salary mean the same thing. One is the definition of the other in the dictionary. You look up the word salary and you'll see the word salt. So, you know, if anything, people ought to be looking at that stuff that they call Federal Reserve debt notes, saying that is not real, because it's not.
Islam. So, if I may, sure. We are basically talking about the bartering system and beginning of the trade system. The other problem that you were talking about previously before is actually called what they call decoding or encoding, where you change one original status to another to make a copy of it, which is from changing from coding to decoding, which is a bit more selective. The other problem to that, when recognized by Jim Crow era, where it's actually rephrasing for certain people and unphrasing for certain as citizen, when most of the people are forced to be citizenized and given up the right to become actually servitude. In 1924, the Indians was placed as the last citizen of this country. Indigenous people was forced into indentured servitude. The constitutions were still frowned upon because it's not an original status. When you have the states declaring more of their own law to practice and less ethics behind it, it becomes more of a problem, where you have the federal government dictate by the Constitution that is regulated under the Constitution of the whole government, but allowing the practice where it has to be censored. So therefore, if practiced by law is not really the answer, because I always tell people they're only giving us answer, maybe good and bad, it's still an answer, but it's not a solution. Because the solution is actually applying it. And this is where we're trying to see ourselves overstepping that boundary where it once was.
Islam. Thank you for that, Nobility. So that's good. That's a key too. When you talk about programming and then overstepping boundaries. If we, because you know, you're absolutely correct about that. If we didn't put the boundary there, then it's not even a boundary. And that's why we keep doing what we're doing here. We're, you know, at West. If we didn't put the boundary there, then as far as we're concerned, it's not there. you know. So we just look at the law. The law has, you know, we already put all the boundaries up. The law is the boundary or the non-boundary. And I like the word boundary because the root word of that is bound. And that's the word that we use in our court actions all the time. So Islam. So just do you want to say a little bit about that through your study, the study of the secret 1930 bankruptcy, to understand how they created the illusion of paying for things with notes?
Sure. Everyone thinks or many think that the Geneva Conventions were about the treatment of prisoners. What actually happened was in the early 1930s, around 1930, several of the nation-state corporations got together secretly. They would meet for 5 years. They met secretly in Geneva, Switzerland, to discuss bankrupting all the nation-states. And so that's where your later on in 1933, where Franklin Delano Roosevelt came in and he quote-unquote abrogated the gold clause. Really, he just covered it up in corporate paper, basiculd. But that was where they made the secret deal with the international banksters that they would do this bankruptcy for all the different nation states. And understand that the United States District of Columbia government corporation was never a part of the Republic. That was where they set up the third leg of the Roman Curia after the Republic was overthrown in 1861. Mm-hmm. But so when they did this bankruptcy, the secret bankruptcy, and they pledged all the people as the collateral for the bankruptcy, for the loan that they took out with the international bankers. They pledged the people, they pledged their future hereditaments, they pledged their property and everything else. And they didn't tell the people. And ever since that time, that's where you get, if you do any study on, after 1939, they went from public law to public policy. That was where they said that they would use no more court rulings before 1939. That's because those before 1939 dealt with public law. And so everything after that time was basically just an administration of the secret bankruptcy that they didn't tell the people about. And so they prepaid for everything. That's why the illusion is created that people are paying for stuff with those notes. You can't pay for anything with a promissory note. That's the same thing. The promissory, the debt note that you hand across the counter is no different from the promissory note you sign when you go to so-called purchase a house. It's a promise to pay. That's all it is. It's a promise to pay. It's not money. It has nothing backing it. But they created that illusion by prepaying for everything. And so when you hand one of those things across the counter, what you're actually doing is you're saying that there is a debt that's owed for this box of tchotchkes or whatever it is that you think you're purchasing. And the storekeeper agrees to accept that. And then the debt supposedly is supposed to be settled later, but you know the debt is not yours. The debt is the United States debt. And so this is how the illusion is created that you're actually paying for something. It was already set up and agreed that the storekeepers would accept those notes, you know, and that's why people think that they're actually paying for stuff, but you're not. I yield.
Islam, yes. Remember, we said everything is prepaid. Of course it is. It belongs to us anyway. So now we do the demonstration. It's time for, listen, I'm doing the demonstration as this comes about. We've already done our first dollarium demonstration, and it worked like a charm. It worked like it was supposed to. And that was with another Moor. So you said a couple of key things, nobility, okay? When they did that Geneva Convention and they pledged all the people, hereditaments, property, etc., all they did in order to do that was they agreed to trademark black ink and capital letters. They just patented it. That's all they did. And they said, okay, everybody who uses that, they're agreeing to be pledged as surety for the debt of the creator, of the ones who did that Geneva Convention. It's all paper. It's all paper. Yes, just Empress Portia says in 1912 they had two bankers that opposed the Federal Reserve go down on the Titanic. Yes. Yes. They knew that that thing was not supposed to be corporatized. They knew that the Federal Reserve was not supposed to be corporatized. Because in reality, we're the Federal Reserve in red and all lowercase letters. That's why we can print our own money as much as we want. They just looked at what the Moors did and said, okay, we have the patent, the trademark on black ink and capital letters, so we can just hijack, look at what they did, hijack it, put it in black ink and capital letters, and we can pretend like we're the Moors. We'll pretend that we are. And that's what they did. Yes, they had that stuff all. And all we're doing today is the reversion of the state. We are living the reversion of a state. Putting everything in red and all lowercase letters, we just look at what they did, and then we say, okay, we see here in Section 10, so we're gonna put it in red and all lowercase letters, and we can edit it according to how we choose to do so. That's how they're teaching us how to govern. They're doing it in black ink and capital letters. But we were never a part of that system. Never a part of it. Never were and never will be. But see, they started that capitalism and all of that back in the 1600s or earlier. The 1400s even. So anyone who doubts that Moorish sovereign dollarium is real money, it's real money because the heirs are using it and we say that it is real money. That's first and foremost. Secondly, we're the source, and that's verse 2. We're the source. It comes from us. We created it. We make it. Just like it says here in this, Article Amendment 13. The descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So anyone doubting, and I'll say this, Morris, trying to explain that to people who are asleep is futile because they still don't even know who they are. Trying to explain that to people who are asleep, if you're trying to explain dollarium to family members who are asleep, good luck with that. Because they still think that that other stuff is real and don't realize that it's only real because it only had any authority because we said it did. And now the same thing goes for our dollarium. all we did was say, okay, not that anymore, this. But see, here's the thing with the dollarium too, and actually with the fiat. With the fiat, the reason why they had to issue that and then issue a contract with it, see, they always have to have a contract to go with the fiat in order to debt anyone. They have to have a contract because the fiat and the contract go together. Why? Because we didn't sign the fiat. We never signed it. The fiat has black ink and a capital letter at the beginning of their signature on it. Fiat has that. Someone doing business as treasurer on those fiat notes. Well, when you sign, when you autograph Moorish sovereign dollarium, what are you saying? You're saying you're the bank, you're the treasury, you're the source, you're the treasurer and the treasury, the living treasury, and that everything that has to do with us, we can use Moorish sovereign dollarium to do it. There's ways to do it. Now, that's the part we're going to have to study is, for example, the way that we broke down the real estate piece, we have to break down the processes so that we can use dollarium to finish everything that we need to do. We started that study last week in terms of presenting it, where starting an agreement in one currency and then calling it in another currency is concerned. We started that last week. Another thing you said, Justice Yezreel, with regard to Federal Reserve debt notes are a promise to pay. Yes, and you can't really pay for anything with debt. That's why it's debt, because it's not the actual payment, it's a promise to pay. So we are actually literally living out this whole starting something in one currency and ending it in another. Because we were using Federal Reserve debt notes, and some still are. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's going away, so just prepare for that. But we started it with IOUs. And who do we owe ourselves? And we're all contracts terminated, and now we're doing it the right way. It's more sovereign dollarium, gold back money.
Islam?
Yes. Islam.
I want to say something quickly about that that statement that's in the original 13th Amendment. The descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. It's a short statement, but it says a lot. And I know some people may have questions about what makes it so powerful. If you can't be a citizen of the Union State Society, which we weren't meant to be citizens of, if you have no part in a society, then you have no duty or obligation to it. That means it can't tax you. It can't make laws on you. It can't enforce laws on you. You have no obligation to it. And so it is telling you you're in a different jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I yield.
There it is. That's the law. That is the law. You know, in the fake history that they taught in the animal POW schools, they were always telling us about no taxation without representation. Well, no one represents the Moors, so there can't be any taxation on the Moors. No taxation without representation is what they said.
Islam.
Islam.
That may be correct under the law, but it's fair to see that the practice of the law is the actual trouble. To apply a catch-22 on the practice, which was called colonius, spelled C-O-L-O-N-U-S, with a combination of federal servants. This is why we are still practicing those two in combinations that people can't see their way out of. That's the practice that we are doing as indentured servitude that has been applied to us. Understanding the law is one thing. Knowing how to avoid the entrapment, it's another in applying it. That's why you could study everything you need to know, but applying it may be a differ. I yield.
Islam. Applying it will be different, but we must know the law. We must know the law. Why? Because we are the law. So we're not practicing law. We are the law. And our test as a nation is to, yes, there it is, right there. Justice Jezreel put it in the chat. We must break the joinder and enforce law. So, to say that, you're right, nobility, it's a whole lot different when those words come off of that page and you live them. But nonetheless, we must be the law still, even if it doesn't look like what we thought it was going to look like. Because testing does not look like what we thought it was going to look like. Most Moors that I know of woke up and found out who they were and thought everything was going to be handed to them. The minute they said, hey, I'm an heir. And we all had that in our heads that, oh, we're the heirs. Well, let's go do this. Not knowing fully that we would be tested. Yes, it's going to look different. Be prepared for that. And see, here's the thing. No matter what it looks like, we have to be the law. Yes, Justice Jezreel said it. They practice, we govern. They're actors, we're the real. They even say they're actors. The acting this and the acting that, the acting interim, blah, 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 title, whatever. So, yes, it's different. Moors must be the law. That's what demonstrations is all about. Now, I'll say this as a matter of just, where assistance is concerned there. Application of the law works best with practice. And it's not even practice, we're actually doing it. The more we demonstrate, the better we get at it. So, Moors, even throughout your day, when you're going, and this is a suggested remedy, a suggested solution to what appears to be a dichotomy in reading it on the paper versus doing it in, actually demonstrating what you've read. Suggested remedy, when you're going throughout your day, demonstrate on even the what appears to be the smallest level. when someone calls you sir or ma'am. Stop and correct them. Stop and correct them. Stop and correct is demonstrating. And that makes application easier. About 2 years ago on one of these calls, I explained that that's how I get past my fear of demonstrating who we are is I just do it throughout the day, all day throughout the day, no matter what's going on. I do it. I stop and correct them. Ma'am, this, miss that. Nope, I'm not. That's British. I'm American. And I do it peacefully, but it still has to be done. It still has to be done. We have to do it. And that is what makes application easier to see and demonstrate. Okay, but if we don't stop and correct all along the way, then something will happen, and because we've not demonstrated all along the way, sometimes the words won't come. Well, we get used to saying the words, and they will come. They'll come. They will come. If I had not done court actions prior to going in the POW camp, ain't no telling how that would have turned out. No telling how that would have turned out. I'm grateful that our ancestors are gentle with us to a degree. You know, in that when we do make mistakes or say things or do things, they don't just come right down and slam us. You know, but if I hadn't been practicing court action and being fully engulfed in that whole process, there's no telling how that would have come out. If I hadn't practiced, and it's not practicing, I was actually on the job, you know, and when I say on the job, going throughout my day, stopping and correcting people along the way, and then demonstrating with the mask demonstration, because the mask demonstration actually opened up a lot of areas of fear that I had by doing the mask demonstration repeatedly. That is how I got past the fear of doing it. So when you talk about that practical application, it's called practical. Practical and practice are the same thing. Practical and practice are the same thing. It becomes practical when you do it. Just do it. Every day, when you go out, no matter where you go, and if you don't have anywhere to go, if you're one who is, you know, just in your domicile a lot, get out and, you know, out into your territory and your land and take the opportunity to demonstrate who you are. Remember, and this is something that I brought up to the Moors yesterday, remember when we, and this is in terms of, what I'm saying now is in terms of dollarium and demonstrating. Let me tell you how powerful demonstrating is. Remember when we first started, you know, demonstrating with our national ID? Our national ID card. And on these calls back, this has been some years. On these calls back then, they were saying, you know, people aren't accepting the ID cards. They're not accepting the ID cards. And now, here it is 2 years later, we continue to demonstrate, and guess what? Now all of them have to have an ID with one star on it. That's the Real ID Act. Look that up. The Real ID Act tells the citizens you have to have an ID with one star on it too. But that's because, and I'll say this, as we continue to demonstrate, the Real ID Act was just, all they did was unarchive what was already the law for the citizens. They just took it out of an archive and said, okay, the Moors are demonstrating, so we might as well bring this one and put it on the books and let everybody know that this is here. Let's dust off, let's remove the corporate covering and make it so that everyone else has to have their IDs looking like the Moors have theirs, with one star on it. Yes, that is why it's called the Real ID Act. Not any fake, fraudulent, etc., stuff. So now, when it comes to Moorish sovereign dollarium, Moors, all we got to do is do the same thing. Just keep demonstrating. It's the law. Print out copies of the Constitution in red and all lowercase letters, red and blue. Print it out and give that with the dollarium. But we do, now this is something that we brought out yesterday again, the protocols. What is the protocol? And someone should look this up. We should do the study on that. All of us should do the study. What is the protocol for introducing and I'll say a different currency into a system? What is the protocol for that? See? We got some study to do. And that's why, you know, those hybrids, when they come on the call, they're always trying to push you to do something without studying so that they can point and say, record you doing that. They want to push you to do something without studying. And if the ego gets in the way, you will say, I will record myself doing that, you know. We're going to do the study. We're going to do the study. And we're not going to have to, we don't have to record ourselves. We can, but we don't, it's not a necessity to do that because everyone's going to be using it shortly. Yes, the protocol does start and end with the law. But there's some systems. See, we have to know how to use the system. And when I say use the system, I mean lean it, do a court action, remove the corporate covering, and then look and see what is this commercial system doing here. Because now that you deaded the court and removed the corporate covering, you still have to know how to use that system. The system that's ancient and been in operation since time immemorial. We still have to know how to use that system. So we can point to the Constitution. Yes, that is correct. That's the law. But we still need to know, okay, in order to introduce currency into this, to the system that we created, in order to activate our currency into this system, how do we do that? How do we activate that? Then that's when you start doing your research on currency exchange and, you know, securities and exchange and all of those things on how to use the currency. It's ours. We now have to know how to use it because guess what? when we were using fiat, and I'm speaking about it in the past because it might as well be in the past. For most of us, it is. Most Moors don't even use fiat and don't realize it. Most Moors swipe a card and it's ones and zeros going back and forth. The fiat is the paper, the private commercial paper. So we have to study on how to do that. Yes, it's by our word, but we are competent. We had to know how to do court actions in order for our court actions to be effective. We had to know how to do it, knowing that it's based on jurisdiction. So yes, even doing court actions started with the law and ends with the law. But we still need to know the protocol. The protocol is all rise and stand. All we did was look at what they did, and the ancestor said, okay, you can say that, but you gotta do it the right way. They say sit, we say stand. So with the money situation, all we have to do is look at what they did and then clean it up. Put it in red in all lowercase letters and edit it accordingly so that we can use it. We can use it among each other freely. We do it all the time. Yesterday at our meeting, the heirs just decided that, hey, can I give you a donation? I said yes. And they already know that we only take more sovereign dollarium or sovereign credit. And they gave to the tune of $15,300 dollarium in one day yesterday. I'm I'm excited about that because, again, it has value because we say it has value. So those are some areas that we can study. Let's look at those areas. And then also remember the document that we gave last week on the Securities and Exchange Master Agreement, where currency is mentioned. Are there any other questions or comments? Any other wisdom?
Islam.
Islam.
Cynthia and Bay here.
Islam.
I'm just going to keep repeating it, that the people and the persons who are the naysayers never come with remedy. And this is consular court. If they have something to enter, they must bring proof. They must provide, back up what they're saying. So, anyway, Islam,
Ooh, yes. yes, and more yes, Empress, yes. A proper rebuttal is the only way that an affidavit can be questioned. There must be a proper rebuttal. And no, not a single naysayer has offered any proper rebuttal. Because they still got to get past the Constitution. They have to get past our status. They have to get past our sovereign autograph. They have to get past our right red thumbprint on the dollarium. And they have to get past the fact that the heirs have decided that that's our national currency. Because we keep using it.
Islam.
We have, and yes, Islam. Go ahead, Nobility.
Before all that, they must come with a true name. Not earn, fraudulently, true name of themselves before any argument. Who are their true selves?
Yes.
Before bringing any allegation to any format, know that yourself to bring that truth argument.
Yes. That's good, nobility. Woo, that's good. That's why I was asking, who in the heck has the authority to tell the heirs that moorishe sovereign dollarium is not a valid medium of exchange? Yes. Yes. Okay, so can you all hear me? Okay. Because someone is saying, okay. Yes, they can.
Someone is saying very well.
Yes. 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 Then who is it that would be a naysayer? Who is it? Because any naysayers to moorishe sovereign dollarium, you can already chalk it up that they've not looked at the Constitution lately. Just know that they have not. And if it's, if it's our brothers and sisters, they just don't know who they are yet. They don't know what sovereign is. And there's hundreds of us using dollarium already, if not thousands, if not more than that. We aren't always shown the true numbers, but we can feel it in our spirit. We're not always given the right numbers. Even on our videos and things, we're not given the true numbers. We know that. Just based on the sheer volume of calls and emails and text messages and all of that, we already know we're not given the real numbers, but we don't care about that. That's not important. Because if we said certain things, those numbers would change based on the ones that are doing accounting. So we're the ones who determine what we use and what we don't use. No one has the authority to tell us otherwise. Period.
Islam,
Empress.
This is Sabrina in Georgia Republic. So when they're using the dollarium outside of with each other, it's my understanding it's gold backed, and the paper money just represents the gold. So just say, for instance, I go in a store and want to buy something like some furniture or something, and give them our money, and they take it. What if they want to know where can they cash it in to get their gold? I mean, like
it's not a representation of anything. It's not a representation of anything like that. No, it is the actual resource.
Okay. So what if it's not, well, let me ask this. Will we be making coin, gold and silver coin?
At some point we will. But believe it or not, that's already done for us. It's been done already.
Okay, so
the only reason that we're not seeing the coinage right now is, like I said earlier in this call, we need to study introducing the currency into the system. Now, I'm going to put something out there in the coming days and weeks once it's done being written up as to how that can happen and will happen, how it will happen. It's going to happen through us. We're going to do it. But I'm going to write, I'm in the process of writing that up on how that's going to happen, how we're going to introduce it into the system, aside from what we're already doing.
Okay.
But when you said about people turning it in for gold, we're the gold. We're it. They didn't turn any Federal Reserve debt notes in for gold. Why? Because we were the ones saying it had, we put our full faith and credit on that.
Yeah,
that
but
full faith and credit piece.
The fiat wasn't backed by gold. I mean, I was speaking of like when they had the silver certificates and gold certificates in paper. They were giving those out because it's just too heavy for people to carry around that much gold and silver. So I was thinking that since it's gold back, do these dollars represent the gold?
They don't represent anything. We are the gold. We're it. We're the gold. We're the gold. We're the law. We're the government. We're the court. We're the people. We're the bank. We're the justices. We're the beneficiaries. We're the executors, ministers, trustees. We're all of that. We are the gold. So it's not where, and this is important because that's a good question, Empress. So gold certificates were not the value. They were something that people held. And if whoever it was that issued those gold certificates said, uh-oh, we're not honoring those anymore, then they couldn't get any gold even if they had the certificate. Moorishe sovereign dollarium is not like that. Moorishe sovereign dollarium is the exchange is settled upon at the time of the exchange. The gold is given when the dollarium is given, because we're the gold. So in finance, there's in the past with fiat, there's been a delay, just like the Noble was talking about, where you give them something, but it's not the real value. The real value was something else. Okay.
Okay.
Islam.
But with yes, go ahead, Nobility.
I think I explained it a little bit faster.
Thank you.
1971 was when Nixon declared reverse the gold standards. The other problem to that, which you is more familiar with, once you are a citizen, and this is going back to 1933, this is why they took the gold. Now, if you have Nixon reversing the gold standards, now you have the exchange where the fact is the gold standard is taken out. First they take the gold, then they reverse the gold standards. The problem becomes you are a citizen that has to refer to fiat. You're supposed to be a nationalist. The nationalist is the only person that can obtain gold. Once you become a citizen, you are not able to obtain gold by 1933 standards by FDR Drive.
Islam.
Islam. I yield. Thank you.
Islam. So yes, thank you, Nobility. Thank you, both of you as well. Empress, thank you. Nixon, when he did what he did, and when 1933 happened, that was only for the citizens. That was not for the Moors. The Moors, nothing ever changed for us. The value has always been us. It's always been us, and it always will be. We're the gold. So in finance, settlement has been delayed in all transactions. That's why they call them transactions instead of actions. A transaction is the opposite of an action. It's really kind of like transaction and inaction is the same thing when you're speaking corporate language. That's why they call them transactions, because the transaction is never settled, because the value is never given. That's why we were not paying for anything. So when people start talking about, yeah, they got a whole lot of, money and they can pay a mortgage and blah, 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 they're not paying for anything. They're not paying for anything. Because if you're handing debt to someone in order to pay debt, have you paid anything? No, you haven't. So we've been going down to the grocery store paying with debt previously. And that has to stop because we're the creditors. See, in black status, blacks pay with debt because a black is a debtor. Black ink in capital letters, that is. Okay, so we're not talking about skin color or race or anything like that. We're talking about status at law. We're talking about status at law. So a certificate, when you talk about gold certificates and trading something in for that if someone hands you a certificate, that means that they're handing you debt, just like birth certificates. That's why we speak by affidavit as opposed to certificate. We speak by affidavit because affidavit is a creditor. Government affidavit is a creditor instrument. But once we hand the dollarium, the exchange is already it's done. You've gotten the gold. When you get the dollarium, that is the gold because the heirs said so. We can make anything according to the Constitution. See, the Constitution says we can make anything a payment by what it's saying that others can't do. We wrote it, and we told them that they can't do it because we can, and we will, and we have. All of the things that the Constitution says is not that they can't do. Those rights are reserved for the people, us. So we have to turn the Constitution, all the do's and don'ts, don't do this and don't do that. Let's look at it further and say, okay, that means we can do this and this and this. See, the states can't, but the federal can, and make no mistake about it, we're the federal. In red and all lowercase letters. Okay. Islam, Empress.
Yes. Are you saying then we can request the money, print it off, and sign it, and shop with it like any other shopping?
Once you do the demonstration or the study, once you do the study on how to do that, the answer is absolutely yes, because remember, Empress, everything is already ours. Everything is already ours. But we must be competent to do the demonstration. It's constitutional. It's the law. They have to accept it. But we must be competent to put that forth. And that's why we're pointing to the law. And our prophet said, enforce the Constitution. We must enforce the Constitution. We don't have a choice because the fiat is not even there anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not even there. And to me, I'm excited about that.
Okay.
I'm excited about it. We must. So What that is looking like to me is going to be an affidavit. Of course, we've leaned everybody and all of that. Keep leaning, Morris. Keep leaning. Keep doing court action. Keep doing that, because we have to share that information with our heirs and pass it down repeatedly. Okay? But then it comes to enforcing the Constitution. We must enforce the Constitution. We must.
Islam. One more question. Now, you said you made $15,000 the other day.
$15,300 dollarium, yes, yesterday.
Can you deposit that in the bank?
It's already deposited.
And they took it?
I'm the bank. I'm the bank. Yes, I took it. Yes.
Well, now I'm kind of confused. Well, that's because, I mean, we did it among ourselves, right? But say, for instance, I go in the store or something to buy, say, like some furniture or something, and they take the dollarium. Can they deposit that in the bank?
They've been depositing our autographs in the bank. So, Empress, I see where you're going with that. First of all, in order to do that demonstration, your paperwork must precede you with a copy of the Constitution, okay? But then you have to be competent to, and I'm not saying you're not competent, we all have to be competent to do the demonstration, where we do all of that before we get there. So we're not going to just show up anywhere. Okay. We will have done a lien and a court action and all of that on whoever it is that's custodian of our resource there. Okay. And then there's some study where contracts, and it's not a contract though, it's an affidavit for us, but we still have to look at that document that I introduced last week, the master agreement. We have to look at that document right there and ensure that there is agreement with regard to the dollarium by the subjects. And that's why we send our documents ahead of time, letting them know they've been lien, and so has the United States Corporation Company, letting them know that, and if I were you, and this is a demonstration that me and one of the empresses did, where the dollarium, she sent me some dollarium in the email with her autograph on it and everything. And the corpse hybrids, and they weren't corpses, they were in subject status. Those in subject status consented. So I would send all of that first before you go there. And of course, people go and look at whatever it is that they are interested in getting. And then you look at it, you see what you want, and then you go back and do the demonstration where sending them by email, even the dollarium in the email first. Because that is still an affidavit. Dollarium is an affidavit also. It's the law. Okay? So that is my suggestion in terms of that, doing that demonstration. We all have to do it because the fiat is not even going to be here.
Islam. Thank you.
Islam. You're welcome.
Islam.
Yes, Islam.
The nationalization is the most important part. It's not the citizenship. The confusion part, if anyone getting deep into the study, is the National Act of 1790, which has been amended several times. This is the frustration part that went against the indigenous and the original people, where a self-imposing white person is the National Act. The problem becomes everyone else is the citizen based on the act. So therefore, it's actually the conversion or understanding not to be the citizen, to be originally nationalized. That's why there's you had to put the paperwork first to uncitizen to be nationalized. This is where that's the exchange, not the trans part where someone else is doing it for you. That's why people have to need to do it themselves to understand it.
Yes.
I yield.
Yes, we have to actually naturalize whoever it is and that resource. And that's what liens and court actions and dollarium is all about, is naturalizing all of our resources, or nationalizing the resources. You naturalize living, breathing subjects, and you nationalize resources that come from the vast estate. And that's what we have to do. We have to do it. We don't have a, it would be different if we had a choice, but we don't have a choice.
So you mean we're nationalizing the corporations? Is that what you're saying?
That's a good question, Empress. The answer to that question is you cannot nationalize or naturalize a court. That's why we do liens and court actions, to undo that.
Okay.
That's what the liens and the court actions do. They send the court to its real death.
Okay.
Because remember, in our court actions, we send them to Guantanamo Bay to be decapitated.
Right.
We have to do that.
Thank you.
Islam. Those are great questions. Great questions. Knowing the law is going to be so key, and knowing who we are is key. That's very key. Very key in any demonstration. So if you're asking, Moors, just in general, if you're asking, can you do this and can you do that? The answer is yes, you can do it. Just do the study on how to do it. Anything that you can think of, can I do this with dollarium? Can I buy this with dollarium? This and that. As long as it's lawful, study the law first, study who you are first, then study the process or the protocol, and then clean up the protocol, write it up, let your paperwork precede you, and then do the demonstration. And when you're demonstrating, no matter how the demonstration goes, listen to what you're hearing from them, because they always put keys in what they're saying. They always put keys in what they're saying. And so sometimes when you're demonstrating, the emotion might come into play. Don't let the emotion stop you from being able to hear. The demonstration that I did yesterday is a prime example of that. The ancestors told me to call a meeting and just invite Moors to come. And at first I thought it was to introduce some information, but the ancestors, they quickly let me know that not necessarily for that. We have something we want to show you. And it wasn't until after the Moors had left yesterday that I realized what the ancestors were trying to show me. First, they wanted me to have it no matter what. They wanted me to invite the Moors no matter what. And a couple of little miracles happened while they were here. First of all, a new Moor that I had never met before came, which was beautiful because the energy is just magnificent. I'll tell you that, magnificent. But the other part of the demonstration that the ancestors showed me, and aside from the unity, because the unity is key, but the other thing that the ancestors showed me was why we meet and how we meet. Why we meet and how we meet. The ancestors wanted the dollarium to be going back and forth as we meet. So they were saying when you have meetings, just have the Moors bring dollarium or send dollarium beforehand for the meeting. So in the future, that's going to be one of the ways that we do things, is having more send dollarium before the meeting so that we can all know who's going to be there. And that will be a way that we can screen and give, you know, for example, you know, we have the hybrids coming on the calls and they're doing their weak best to stop the calls and all of that, but that's just not going to happen. But what we can do is have the Moors send some dollarium if they want to attend the call, and then send each Moor a passcode. Each Moor who sends dollarium and a copy of their ID, a passcode, and that can be done in the email, by email. And then we send a passcode and say, this is the new code for the call. And then we'll never have a hybrid interruption. But that's down the road, a little ways down the road, because we're, you know, the ministerial and administration parts of is on high right now. And we do need 16 secretaries at this point, but we don't have 16 secretaries. We only have one, and that's my daughter. So, yeah, that's the miracle of doing what they say to do, because that's going to make a way for us to do other things that we need to do in terms of when the Moors send the dollarium for support. That's our money. That is our money. That's our money.
Islam. Is there anyone that maybe I could work with? I know at one time you were having the training and doing the court sessions and the liens. Is there anyone maybe online that would work with me and getting me up and going with that?
What territory are you in, Empress?
I'm in Michigan Republic territory.
Yes, there's some Moors at your territory who can assist you. Are you familiar with the Moors at Michigan territory?
Yes, I know. I met a couple of Moors from Detroit.
Okay. Yes, they can. We're going to need each other through this whole Grand Rising. So connect with them, Empress, because I know them, I've met them, and they are highly competent, and they can definitely assist you.
Okay, once I get it started, I'm sure I can do it, but I guess I'm just, you know,
yes,
just feel like that right now.
Connect with them.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Islam, Empress.
Islam.
Yes, connect with them because they're, and here in the chat, Empress Portia says she's in Michigan territory, so she can assist you as well. Very highly competent. She does court actions regularly, liens regularly, highly active, more Islam. She can assist. And even if you all met on free conference calls, you could meet on free conference call and she can show you the document on free conference call, you know, so point for point walk you through the documents if you need some assistance there.
Do I need to give her my phone number or email?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. This is Empress Portia. Empress, can you please tell me your appellation?
Aisha L.
Aisha.
AYISHAHEL.
Okay.
And my email is.
Okay, I'm ready.
Princess Anne, PRIN.
Empress, you know this is going on YouTube, so if you don't want it to be on YouTube, you know, then you may want to transfer it a different way.
Yeah, and I think I can text, you know, directly to you in the chat, so everybody don't see it. That's why I need your app.
Empress Aisha,
yes.
Are you on computer? Can you see the chat, Empress Aisha?
I've been trying to get in, but it's been long.
Okay, I think I might have your email already. I'm going to test it out and see.
Okay.
Empress Aisha, you can text me your email and your number, and I'll pass it to Empress Portia. You have my number. We've talked,
yes,
I think,
yes.
a couple of times. Yeah.
And you can pass her my number too. My cell phone.
Islam.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, Islam. And I don't like to lock the meetings. I don't like to lock them because there are so many more that need to access at their will, not, they access it in their own time and, but we would never, anyway.
I understand.
Yes, Islam. That's the reason I don't like to lock it.
Okay.
So in the future we will make it so that we have a code.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Islam. But we'll announce it whenever we do it. Everyone will know that there's a code. Make sure you get the code.
Okay.
But right now we're not going to do that. Right now we're going to keep things as they are.
All right.
For now, yeah. Islam. Hopefully that helps interest.
Okay.
Yeah. With that being said, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom, etc. that anyone would like to start fix and say?
Islam, I had a question in regards to the dollarium. Like when we send you the monthly amount, should we put that on the public record?
You can. I was actually going to do a spreadsheet and make it so that you can access the spreadsheet for the donation.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does have to go on the public record, so if you want to put it on the public record, you can. Okay. Even the donations that we take in, we've taken in so much in donations, it's just, it's a lot. Over 100 million in donations because one more made a huge donation.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
But I can make a big donation too since I have it.
Yes, we will take it. We will take it. We take it. We take it. Yes. We love the donations. We love the donations because it's the energy. It's the energy. And listen more, it's just a matter of time. It's not even a matter of if, but a matter of when the dollarium manifests the way that the Empress had the questions about the grocery store and all that. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. Period. It's going to happen. And it might happen sooner than you think. But see, it's according to our study. All of us have to study. We have to study it and then do the demonstration. So it's not if, it's when the exchanges are done that way. It's even written in the ancient records that it happens that way. When the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, they were able to take as much as they could carry with them. And that included gold and everything else. They were able to take as much as they could. That's what dollarium will do. It's going to make it so we can have whatever it is that we want, and then we got to produce. So we have to be preparing to produce goods and services on our own land. And that's actually the point of the dollarium, is to get whatever it is that we need so that we can begin producing from the vast estate, so that fiat commerce can go to Islam. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for the questions. And again, for those who want to go shopping with dollarium, remember, it is the law that you should be able to do that. You can do it because it's the law. We're to enforce the Constitution. But we must know the process. We must know the process. And we must not try and give it to corpses. That means a lien and a court action has to be done. It has to be. And paperwork must precede us. So, and a termination of all corporate contracts must be done also. That is key. With that being said, if there's nothing further, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heir. Islam.
Peace and grand
Peace and grand rising.
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 Peace and grand rising. Peace and love, Morris.
Peace, heirs. Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Islam.